Hello, and welcome to another Capture the Flag edition of Daryl Show Your Work, episode 154 to be exact. All right, so in this episode, I'll be showing how to exfiltrate secure shell private keys to maintain access to a Linux-based host. So still going on with the overall theme of persistence here. So this one's going to be more scenario-based. So all right, what the current scenario here is that I got going on in my machine today. So I've already compromised a normal user account. All right, so I know that user account's name is student, and I have the login credentials to authenticate into the secure shell. All right, so I'm going into this already having compromised the system, already having clear text credentials. So we're going to skip the initial compromise of the system and jump straight into post exploitation by authenticating to the system and then trying to open up a mechanism of persistence. All right, and so the idea is that now I want to be able to obtain the SSH private key to maintain access to the system, even if the password is changed. All right, so that's the overall idea in this video. Is I'm going to use those clear test credentials that I've already found. Going to log in and going to search within our target host to be able to find those SSH private key, then to be able to authenticate with that anytime I want to, opposed to the actual username password pair. Since I'm going to be using since regardless of whether or not the password is changed, I'll still be able to authenticate with that private key. All right, so because this involves post exploitation activity, I'm going to preface this video with my user disclaimer saying that this is for research, ethical, and educational purposes only. Any sort of malicious activity that may directly or indirectly come from someone watching this video, I do not take responsibility for, nor do I condone. All right, so I am going to do some discovery here. All right, so the first thing, let's find out what my IP address is. All right, so since I am operating on the Ethernet 1 interface, my IP address is 192.27.35.2. All right, and then so what I'm going to do is I'm going to conduct a ping sweep, excuse me, using this as the basis of um, of a CIDR address that I'm going to give the other ping sweep mechanism, which is going to be fping, and um, I'm going to then what that's going to do is going to send ICMP packets to all the machines that are on my local subnet, and whoever's up and running is going to respond back. And it's going to tell. It's not how I'm going to determine it in this instance. It's already know. It's going to be able to come back and let everyone else know who the target host is in this scenario. All right. So I'm gonna say fping dash a dash g, and then let's change this to a 0/24 so that's my CIDR. And again, I'm going to be pinging all of the machines that are going to be on my local subnet. Whoever's up and running is going to respond back, and it's going to reveal who the target host is. All right, so 1, 2, 3 as usual. Dot one being our our gateway, which I'm not going to mess with since I want to maintain internet access. Two being myself. So then we know three is the target host. So now since we know who the target host is, now I'm going to begin authenticating using SSH into that target host. And remember the password, excuse me, the username for the account that I'm going to be authenticating as is a student. So I'm going to say student at, and I'm going to give it the target host's IP address. All right, so we're going to change that 2 to a 3, and then let's hit enter, and then I'm going to give it a password. Say yes. Oh, I'm going to actually type out yes. Okay. All right, and then the password I'm going to give it is simply password. All right, type that in. All right, and we see that now I have access to the command line within the machine as a student. All right, so now that I'm in here, let's see what's in the current directory here. All right, so we have look like three files, well, two hidden files, cache and an SSH file, and then we have a file called wait. So what this wait script is, this is actually a script that when I delete it, it's going to initiate a password reset for the student account. So I wanted to simulate um um once I'm able to find the SSH key here. I want to simulate or what happens if the legit user, let's say, resets the password to this account, showing how, regardless if that happens, I'm still able to authenticate into this account with that private key once I obtain it. All right, so and then I'm gonna just let's see contains what's contained inside of that wait file. All right, and we can see here it says delete this file to trigger connection reset. Delete it only after planning the backdoor. All right, so again, this is just basically stating that this is going to, once this file is deleted, it's going to trigger a password reset, and then it's just reminding me to not to delete this until after I've obtained the private key. All right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to I'm sorry, when I said .ssh, it's not a hidden file, it's actually a hidden directory. And we could tell that it's a directory here by the D in front of the permission types here. All right, so I'm actually going to change to that directory. All right, so I'm gonna say cd all right, dot slash ssh. Oh, you know what? No, I messed up there. I shouldn't have said that. Get rid of that slash. I'm used to executing files. There we go. All right. So now that I'm in there, let's see what's going on inside of there. All right. So we see two files here. We see a file that says authorized keys, and then we see ID underscore RSA. So the ID underscore RSA is actually that private key that I'm looking to download to my local machine and be able to use for now on to authenticate to our target host. All right, so I need to find a way and to download that and get that onto my local directory. All right, but I want to just to show what this private key looks like to show that this indeed is the private key. So I'm going to cat out ID underscore RSA. All right, so we can see here where it says begin RSA private key and RSA private key, and here's all the ciphertext. That was generated once the public key and private key SSH key pair was generated. All right, so now that the idea what I want to do next is basically again finding a way to copy this private key to my local directory. So first thing I want to do is I want to exit out of the target host here. All right, so I'm back in my local directory, and so I'm going to do a secure copy from this machine to my machine. So since I have access, and I'm allowed to do that because since I now have access to this machine, I can simply do a secure copy of this private key to my local directory. All right, so I'm going to say CSP for secure copy, and that's going to do this over at SSH. And I'm going to say student and we're going to give it the IP address again. All right, it's going to change this 2 to a 3. All right, and then I'm going to say colon and then tilde um, backslash, and then I'm gonna give it the directory I want to aim this at, and then the file within the directory. So it's the .ssh directory and the ID underscore RSA. And one thing I forgot to mention here on this step, when I first logged into the machine, all right, and I listed out the context, the list dash all command is what allowed me to see these hidden directories here. Because if I didn't do a dash all the only thing I'll be able to see is the wait file. So that when you do a list dash all, that's going to list out the hidden directories, and it makes sense why the .ssh would be a hidden directory, because it's hiding. The idea is for it to hide the the private key on this for this system. All right, and then I'm gonna finish off this command line here um, with a space period, and that's again anytime that I add that to when I'm copying a file, that lets it know to copy that file directly into my local directory, because if I don't, then the command is going to fail. All right, so give it the password, which is again password, since I'm doing this over SSH, and it looks like that transfers. So let's check my directory, my local directory here. Let's list out the contents of that, and we can see that the ID underscore RSA, a private key, is indeed there now. All right, so then the next thing that I want to do is before attempting to authenticate into this machine here, I need to give it the proper permissions that's needed in order for it to operate as a private key. So I'm gonna say change modify chmod, and then I'm gonna say 400 to assign it the permissions and ID underscore RSA. All right, and now it has the permissions it needs to operate as a private key. All right, so the next thing I need to do is I actually need to initiate the password change. All right, so again, before trying to authenticate using this private key, I want to be able to authenticate back into this machine, delete that wait file, so then it triggers a password reset. All right, so let's go back in my history here. There we go. Log it in. I'm gonna give it the password. Hold on, I think I goofed that up. All right, let's try that again. There we go. All right, now that I'm in, see if I do a ls now, see all we see is wait. All right, so if I do ls dash al all, now we can see the hidden directories. And now we actually have a bash history now. Okay, but anyway, so in order to delete that wait file, I'm gonna just say rm wait, and this should delete that file. All right, so now, see, now my connection was closed. So let's try to authenticate again. Can't get in now. Permission denied. All right. So I'm just let me see. Just do that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so basically it told me that the permission was denied. So now let's try to authenticate using the the SSH private key. All right, and then once I'm back inside the system, if that does work, then I can start trying to look for that hidden flag, since this is a capture the flag edition of Daryl Show Your Work. All right, so I'm gonna say SSH dash I. All right, and then I'm gonna say ID RSA. That specifies the private key that I want to use, and then I'm gonna tell it the account that I want to authenticate with, which is the student account. And I'm gonna put at, and I'm gonna give it the IP, the target's IP address. And look at that, we're back in. All right, so now that I'm back into the back in there, let's do. I'm gonna say ls-l. Look at there. All right, and now that I'm back in there, now there's our flag. All right, so let's cat out the contents of that flag. And voila, there's our flag. All right, so that brings me to the end of this video. So it was a relatively quick one, but the thing I wanted to that I wanted to to iterate at the, excuse me, at the end of this video is typically the best way of doing this is just to generate our own SSH key pair and upload the public key to the private to the target's authorized keys directory, and then authenticating with our own private key. And I believe I did show that in a video that I did like quite a while ago, when I think I was trying to compromise a router. Basically, I created my own SSH public key private key pair, and did exactly that, where I simply loaded the public key onto the once I compromised the target, loaded the public key onto there, and then was able to continue to authenticate anytime I wanted, since I had the private key that went along with that public key that was now stored on the target host. So that's generally how that works. So it's not a whole lot of times where where you're going to find where you're going to, even if you find clear text passwords, that you're going to go on and go into the system and find a private key. It can happen, but very rarely does. So this is just a scenario that if you were to find a private key inside of a compromised system, that would then open up a manner of persistence for you. But like I said, generally you could create the same persistence vector by creating just your own public private key pair, uploading the public key to the victim's machine, and then since you already have the private key, then you can authenticate that way anytime you want, with the user account that you're able to associate with it. All right, so please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, show your work. Until next time, take care of yourself, and God bless.